Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Moritz. I am one of the DFINITY community organizers or admins. And today I'm going to show you how to run the DFINITY linked up application. The DFINITY linked up application was demoed a few weeks ago at the World Economic Forum in Davos by Stanley. It's actually some sort of linked up clone which runs on the internet computer, and this shows the possibilities that you have by writing applications for the internet computer. And it was developed by 1.5 engineers in 3 weeks, if I recall correctly. So it's not a very complicated or sophisticated application, but it shows the basics. If you previously ended up on the DFINITY Lab GitHub and you checked out the linked up repository and you tried to make it work by using the instructions down here, it probably didn't work. One of the main reasons for that is that the DFX version, which supports the linked up application that was demoed, wasn't out until 5 days ago. So 5 days ago, version 0.5.0 was released. And if you dig into the release notes, actually, one small info, if you're looking for release notes, you can either find them under sdk.dfinity.org, and we have a release notes section there. I think it's, let me check. Yeah, it's, if you go to the start page and all the way down, you can find the release notes here. And of course also always in the developer forum, it's always a pinned post. So if you dig into those release notes, you will find a small sentence which is really nice, and it says all functionality required for linked up to compile is included in this version. The linked up repo can be accessed here, so if you're looking for the repository and you're too lazy to Google it or to click through the GitHub page, you can just use this link and you end up on the repository. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to actually clone this. I have a default folder for all my DFX, Motoko, DFINITY related stuff. You can use whatever folder you like, but I will clone this in project/DFINITY. So one thing you should make sure is that you have the correct version installed, because like I said, if you're using a version earlier than 0.5.0, this probably won't work. So what you can do is run dfx -- version, and I updated so it shows version 5. If you are on a fairly new version, you can use the dfx upgrade command to upgrade to the newest version. And if you are on a version that doesn't support the upgrade subcommand, you can just head over to the sdk.dfinity.org website, and you can head down to the, if you're on the front page, you can head down at the end of the page and press the SDK quickstart link, or click the SDK quickstart link, and you can head down to the section download and install, and here you will find a simple bash command that you can copy and paste into your terminal, and this will then install the newest DFX version. So prerequisites: having the linked up repository cloned and having the newest DFX version installed. So now we change directory into the linked up repository, And the first thing you are probably trying to do is to build the project. So this doesn't work because we are on the master branch, and the branch that is currently the most up to date isn't the master branch, it's SJ/intercanister calls. I think this is SJ stands for Stanley Jones, I guess, and this is his working branch, and this is where the latest changes happened. As you can see, this one was updated 4 hours ago, and the master branch was last updated 13 days ago. So it's not that old, but the SJ/intercanister calls branch is the newest branch and the branch that the people maintaining the repository are currently working on, as far as I get this. At this point, thanks to Hans, who pointed this out. This is something you probably don't know and wouldn't know if I wouldn't tell you, or if Hans wouldn't have told me before. So yeah, this is one very big part of the trick to make the linked up application work. So yeah, what do we have to do? We have to switch branches. We do this by git checkout, and then we enter the branch name, which is, like I said, SJ/intercanister calls, and you press enter. Then you are on the correct branch. Now what we can also do is start DFX. If you are not sure if you already started DFX, you can, just to be safe, write DFX stop. If there was no network client running, it will show this command. If there was, it will show nothing, and you just stopped it. And then we will go and start DFX in the background. So this worked. Next thing we are going to do is run the dfx build command on the right branch. So as you can see, this leads to an error. I don't really know what the reason is. If you are familiar with npm or node, maybe you know. I just use the old-fashioned Google search to find some solutions, and yeah, the solution that works for me is running those commands down here. So at first you run npm cache clean force, which probably cleans your cache. And after that you run, or you delete your package log.json. This is a file that was inside the repository, but now isn't anymore because I deleted it. And after that you run npm install. This might take a little while. Sorry for the fan noises. It's a very old MacBook. So, and after that we try to build again, and this should work. As you can see, everything worked, which is great. So the next thing we want to do is actually install the canisters on the network. We do this by issuing the dfx canister install command with the all flag, and all makes installs all the canisters that there are. As you can see, if you check out the help page, it says install all canisters configured in dfx.json, and luckily the person maintaining the repository configured the canisters graph and profile to be installed. So we run this with the all flag, and this installs the canisters on our network. So if you head back to the repository and you scroll down to the README section, you can see 3 commands to open the canister in your web browser. The first one saves the canister ID in the environment variable ID. You can just copy paste this. Okay. Maybe I have to restart this too, but this shouldn't be the problem. Let's see. Okay. Well, it is there. There's no index. I guess no index folder. Is there? No, there isn't. Let's see. I think I solved this by just rerunning dfx build and then reinstalling it. I think this creates the index folder. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it creates an index folder if there are more than, or if there's more than one canister that's being installed or built. And if you only have one, there's no index folder. You can just check if it's been created by now. So we head over to, we can just, still not. Let me think. Okay, I think I know what the problem is. I wanted to do this anyway because you have to. The master branch has been updated in the meantime. Yeah, okay, awesome. So this is funny because I recorded this video before and I forgot to activate my microphone. So it's 30 minutes of silence. So I have to redo this, and before the yeah, I did it the other way around. But anyways, so the thing is, if you are on the Stanley Jones branch, the README is not updated. So the commands you can find down here, they are deprecated. So what you have to do is you change over to the master branch, and the master branch contains the updated commands. Actually, we've just found this out by ourselves. So we saw that there was no index folder, and I at least know that it should have been profile, because this is like the entry point for the front end. So this works. So what this does is it actually saves the canister ID inside the ID environment variable, and the canister ID is, as you can see, there's a path, is inside this folder. And if you open this with Vim, or if you cat this or something like that, you just get some gibberish, because the reason for that is because the canister ID is a hex dump, and this command here reduce this, or undoes this. I don't know how to say this. It reverts it. So if you echo ID, you should get a hexadecimal representation of the canister ID, and it's this string. So the second command, notice we are not on the Stanley or SJ / in the canister calls branch, we are on the master branch now. And the second command is this one. This one is also different to the command in here, because in here it says Python, and on the master branch it says Python 2. The reason why they changed this is because probably a lot of systems have Python 3 as their default Python version, and if you run this command with Python 3 out of the box, it doesn't work. So you have to explicitly specify to use Python 2, which is done down here. So you can do the same thing, you just copy paste this. What this command does is it calculates a checksum of your canister ID, and the reason for that is that sometimes you have copy paste errors, or if you really type it, you mistype something, and this is just to double check that you have the correct canister ID. Yeah, you have the correct canister ID. So we can also check for this, and it says C5. This looks great. So the next command actually opens this URL, and as you can see it says canister ID, and it uses the two environment variables we just defined. So it uses the ID concatenated with the checksum. So if you are on a Linux distribution, you can just use xdj -open and just copy paste this, but if you are using Mac, you can leave out this part and just use the open command. Whoops. So we copy paste this, we go back, and if we execute this, at the end of our URL, if everything works, there should be our canister ID concatenated with the checksum. So there should be a C5 at the end. So let's see if this works. Awesome. So this is linked up. You made it. Great. And if you log in now, you can see that there's an empty profile with no information. You can start to fill in your information. If you watch the demo, I think Stanley said no password, no username. Your identity is just bound to your machine, and in this case it's bound to your browser, and as Hans pointed out, it's somewhere stored locally in cache or something like that. I don't really know the details about it, but we will come to the advantage of this later. So I will just fill in my information. Yeah, what am I? Student at HU. Plenty, of course, and very educated. You can also include a URL to an avatar. I will just use this. Oops. So this is me. This is my linked up profile. As you can see on the right side, it says no connections because I didn't connect with anyone yet. If I head over to profile, it takes me back to the same page. If I click edit, it lets me edit my profile. It's the same if I click here. And if I go to connections, as we already know, I don't have any connections yet. So we should change that. What I found out when I recorded the video before without any audio is that there's some sort of Easter egg, because actually you can already find Dominic Williams in here. Well, I could find him previously. There he is. Nice. So if I click here, there's a complete profile of Dominic Williams, and I will now connect with him by clicking connect. And after a little while, this here refreshes, and now I have one connection. How many connections does Dominic have? 0 connections, so apparently this is not, how do you say, reflexive, I think, maybe? No, not reflexive. So if I connect with Dominic, it doesn't mean that Dominic is connected with me. This is what I'm trying to say. So maybe there are other people in here. No Stan, no Stanley, no Hans, no Michael. So I will now add another person to the linked up application. I will do this via 2 ways. The first way is that I will just use a different browser, which lets me log in again, but this time I'm not Moritz, this time I'm a new user because I'm using a different browser. And this will be Michael, and what's he doing? Communications, DFINITY, let's write this in caps, work experience, very experienced, and also very educated. And let's look for a picture. Should be one. Nice. Let's take this one. No, let's take this one. And there he is. So what Michael can do is he can search for Dominic, which should lead to Dominic apparently, and he can connect with Dominic. What he can also do is search for Moritz, which brings up my profile, and he can connect with me. So now Michael has 2 connections, Dominic and Moritz. When I go back to my profile, I'm still not connected with anyone, but I will now, no, I connected with Dominic, I forgot. I will now also connect with Michael. Nice, so I myself have 2 connections too. I'm connected with Dominic and I'm connected with Michael. But I should be connected with Dominic and Michael. Okay, here we go, nice. Awesome. So if you run out of browsers, you can also use a private window, which has the same effect. Oops, that's not the page. That's the page. So when you log in here, you end up with yet another empty profile. You can edit Peter Meyer, what is he? Teacher, school 12 years university, and he gets no avatar. And as you can see, we created another profile, and now Peter Meyer can connect with me. Boom. There he is. And it's easy as that. So if you are not yet part of our developer forum, I can only recommend to join. There's always a lot of interesting conversation, very much related to the SDK and to Motoko and the Internet Computer Protocol and DFX and all that stuff. So if you're a developer or if you're interested in starting with DFX or Motoko, feel free to join. It's a very nice place, and I can also recommend you to check out this DFINITY lab GitHub profile, which has some interesting repositories on it. And of course, if you're trying to get started, check out sdk.dfinity.org. And yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and see you next time. Bye bye.